To everyone out there, there's no reason to be concerned. Cloud9 is not leaving Counter-Strike. They are just in a process of restructuring their entire Counter-Strike division.
That was Cloud9's then head coach in September of 2020, reassuring fans that despite troubling times, the organization was here to stay in Counter-Strike. But just over 6 months later, Cloud9 CSGO would cease to exist. Since their Counter-Strike debut in 2014, C9 have been one of the few consistent mainstays in North America and home to many of the region's best players. At times, they've been NA's top team, and in their crowning moment, prevailed as underdogs to become the region's first team to ever win a CSGO major.
He cannot miss a single shot. Guardian waits patiently as Cloud9 sets the push up. Oh, it's happened! They made it work! Cloud9 are your ELEAGUE Major champions!
But that euphoria, well, it didn't last. After their Cinderella run in Boston, the team's performance dropped off a cliff and their roster fragmented. Then, the COVID-19 pandemic put North American teams in a catch-22, and Cloud9 moved operations across continents to keep the team competing against Counter-Strike's very best. But in the end, it just wasn't enough.
I'm sorry for the players, I'm sorry for the org, I'm sorry for Henry G.
So, here is the rise and fall of Cloud9 CSGO. In a scene where many organizations often don't stand the test of time, Cloud9 have been a rare, consistent presence in North American Counter-Strike over the last 6.5 years. And they began their competitive journey at one of the esport's most prestigious events, ESL One Cologne, in 2014.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the last remaining American team at ESL One Cologne, Cloud9.
Geralt is going to be waiting. Hiko charges in, doesn't check.
Oh, what? Oh my god! Inhuman reactions!
With a team full of talented and popular players in Shroud, Nothing, Hiko, Shongeras, and Semphis, acquired from Complexity Gaming just weeks before, Cloud9 looked like a force to be reckoned with in North America. Even so, that original C9 roster began to change after the honeymoon period ended and less than stellar international results set in.
Now it's down to a 2-1-3. JW waiting in the middle, has the AK in hand, he's waiting, they line up for him, and that's going to be the end. JW, triple kill. He ends up at 21 kills, all of match at 32, and Fnatic, they knock Cloud9 out of DreamHack Winter 2014.
First, Hiko left in December, with Shazam coming in to fill the gap.
It was a weird dynamic that we had in the team, and it wasn't really, I could tell that it wasn't really going anywhere.
Then, in April of 2015, Shazam and Semphis were replaced with Skadoodle and Freakazoid. And the results were looking up, as Cloud9 established themselves as arguably the strongest North American team of 2015.
We've just had a North American team, the best North American team, basically push the best team in the world to the trenches, to their very limit, basically.
Wasn't meant to be. I mean, but
Incredible.
It's a huge testament to Cloud9's abilities. This tournament, they've really shown the world that they're able to really battle with the best.
When Shongeras left in November of that year and a young Stewie 2K filled his place in January of the following, the change felt like a backward step to at least some people.
I don't know if Stewie 2K is necessarily the best fit for this team, but I think Stewie 2K is a really good player.
But as future events would prove, they couldn't be more wrong.
Cloud9 have done it! How have they done that? They came back all the way!
But we'll get to that. In the summer of 2016, former Team Solo mid player Automatic stepped in, filling the spot previously held by Slemmy and Freakazoid, and the org went on to win their biggest tournament to date, ESL Pro League Season 4.
They've got to drop through. Now, the one thing about dropping through is they could push to P as a result, but they want to contest Stewie, who gets one. It's Cold Zero, bomb down. Automatic in a 1-versus-1, and he's got no idea where Automatic is. He's rotated all the way to long, and Cold might get caught. He's looking down toward the door. He's in the open. It's automatic to give Cloud9 Season 4.
A huge and rather romantic story told by Cloud9. The North Americans pick up their first offline title, finally finding the correct ingredients, going 25-1 online, thrown into the group of death at the start of this tournament, and now they raise that trophy. Do you remember? I mean, I remember the constant community and forum feedback, who on earth is this Stewie? Just some pug star, and now he's sitting here lifting a trophy alongside some of his best friends.
But still, on the grandest stage of Counter-Strike, the majors, Cloud9 struggled. They failed to qualify for 2017's ELEAGUE Major in Atlanta and were unsuccessful in making the playoffs at PGL Krakow later the same year.
So many will be heartbroken. Cloud9 sadly eliminated.
And the following month, two players synonymous with the blue and white jerseys of Cloud9, players that had been there from day one, stepped back from the competitive scene. Shroud became a full-time streamer, and Nothing, after being benched, started working as a broadcast analyst and also focused on content creation. The new look lineup was now Skadoodle, Stewie2K, Automatic, Rush, and Tarek, all great players. But a roster able to trump the dominant European teams, to stand toe-to-toe with the Brazilians and hold off a surge of upstart CIS rosters? At the time, it was far from a sure thing. But semi-final appearances at ESL One New York and the ELEAGUE premiere that year gave C9 fans a renewed sense of optimism in life after Shroud and Nothing. And then, in January of 2018, came the ELEAGUE Boston Major, where these players would etch their names in the history books forever. In their first major of the Tarek Rush era, Cloud9 cruised through the qualifier stage of competition. But after a terrible start in the group stage, we're staring down the barrel of yet another disappointing performance at a major.
There is the peak, there's the flashbang, very important. Out comes Antares, gets nothing. Down to Paz, picks Rush out the air. And now another one from Paz. What else could he? Oh my goodness, Paz! 4 from him. Absolutely unbelievable there from him. Oh my god, the ace to take the match.
After dropping their first 2 games, C9 would have to win 3 single-map elimination games in a row just to make it to the playoffs. But one by one, Cloud9 took out and eliminated Virtus Pro, Astralis, and Vega Squadron.
Yeah, entirely 180. Again, though, the HPI jumps across. Rush nails it. 16 rounds for Cloud9, and 1 final legend status spot for Skadoodle. Cloud9 into the top 8.
You can see a rare smile on his face. You don't see that very often, but he knows he's broken the curse now.
This was an impressive run in its own right. C9 were the only team to qualify for the playoffs after losing their first 2 maps. But they weren't done surprising us yet. The bracket stage began with a rematch against G2 Esports. In many people's eyes, potential tournament winners. They were 6-0 in their first 2 stages, having already comfortably defeated Cloud9 earlier in the event.
If you have seen the G2 that I saw, and I know you did, Janko, Sean, you're just joining us, they looked great in these group stages. I mean, every performance they were putting in, you suddenly thought, yes, these are contenders finally.
But Cloud9 did not allow for lightning to strike twice.
Now Body in so much trouble, but Kenny's going to be up the high ground, getting the kill. He almost went down himself. There's Body picking it up, and now it's a 1 versus 1. Stewie versus Kenny. The smell of gunfire and freedom in the air, and Stewie picking up that kill, and Cloud9 are in the semi-finals. Oh my god, what a story. They shut down G2.
With the French super team in the rearview mirror, suddenly an upstart, undervalued, underdog Cloud9 team were just a single best of 3 away from the grand finals. But in their path were a 2-time major winning Brazilian powerhouse in SK Gaming, fresh off recent Blast Pro Series and ESL Pro League victories.
Against the likes of SK, who've been here time and time before, and not just on majors, but big tournaments in general, right? So something for Cloud9 that might be an issue. We saw how they can be off in a game against Space Soldiers. You know, they have to be on their A game to have a chance here.
Powerful performances on Mirage and Inferno saw them earn a spot in the grand finals of a major, becoming only the 2nd North American team in history to do so.
Even do about that now. The flashbang comes out, but they do rush down Fallen. That's going to be a lot of trouble as Fur gets down as well. Cloud9 answering back twice as hard, taking down Belt, automatic with the kill, and just like that, Cloud9 in a 1 versus 4. Taco can't do anything. The pandemonium is 16 rounds, and Cloud9 are in the grand finals of a major tournament.
It was already a remarkable run, and now C9 were actually within touching distance of winning Counter-Strike's biggest prize. But standing between them and history loomed the superstar team that was FaZe Clan, seemingly predestined to claim the Boston Major as their own.
So many of these players you could talk about as the best player in the world at different points during their career, and together they have formed something truly special.
They had a perfect 8-0 map record against C9 in 2017, and the script was crystal clear from this point on. FaZe Clan would step right over the upstart Cinderella roster and add another trophy to their collection. And from here, you already know the story.
Making his way for Honor, Skadoodle there, he's in the red as well, but Skadoodle still alive. Is the trade there for Cloud9? Yes it is. Rush shuts it down, picks up the AWP as well, 7-1 Cloud9.
That was maybe the only chance, but Guardian comes back in. Oh, Guardian, he gets 2. There's still more to go though. Cloud9 must plant the bomb, the peaks come in, but Guardian will not stop. 1 more to go, and Guardian gets them all.
FaZe Clan struck first, but on overpass, Cloud9 hit back.
He won't make anything, Rain's the one doing the spraying. And now it's down to Skadoodle. He sees the trajectory, he needs to escape down towards short. He knows where these players were, he saw where that grenade came from, his teammates can tell him as well. He has 30 HP, he's got no grenades, he's holding a tight angle. Guardian is so red, not expecting it. Skadoodle, there's 1 more to fight. Skadoodle's got nuclear. 4 kills for him. And he's brought him 1 round closer to the 3rd map. Nerves of steel.
The deciding map on Inferno was, quite simply, legendary.
So Nico, the Molotov is not damaging him. He gets the first kill, running distraction now. His teammate can try and hide and pop out afterwards. The pop flash is there as well. And Guardians back in the B bomb side, but Nico and Carrigan shutting everything down. Guardian through the smoke. Skadoodle flashed off though, and Guardian tries to escape. He makes it towards the oranges and a HG grenade. But this is only 1 player, and he's still alive, 3 HP. Cloud9 are at the point of no return. The bomb is far too thick. They cannot win this. They've got to run away. They have to run away. They've got all the kills, but they won't win the round. It's match point FaZe. But automatic's going towards A. Nothing else is going on. He's got to go back. Stewie's on his own. But look at the time. Look at the time. There's 7 seconds to plant the bomb. They're trying to build pyramids, but there's no more play. Stewie's won the round. We're going to overtime.
Cloud9 have done it. How have they done that? They came back all the way.
Automatic in the pool. Rain taken out. 2-on-2 now, and it's Tariq. He's got higher health, but it's not perfect. Down he goes. It's Guardian. He's the only man standing between Cloud9 and the Major. It's going to be a double peak. There's the first one. We're going to overtime number 2. Cloud9 don't do it. They're still in this Major, FaZe Clan. I think both these teams might be carried off in stretchers after this is finished. 2 more match points for Cloud9.
Guardian waits patiently as Cloud9 sets the push up. Oh, it's happened! They made it work! Cloud9 are your ELEAGUE Major champions!
Thank you. I don't really have much words to say, as you know. I'm not crying, you're crying, stop.
That is the most insane way to win a major. It could hardly have been more difficult. They weren't the favorites, they were the underdogs. They were a heavy underdogs, but they did it for North America. Skadoodles won the major!
This has to be one of the most incredible storylines we've ever had.
They toppled superstar teams, battled through mountains of adversity, and still, somehow, prevailed in the end. It truly was the Cinderella story of Cinderella stories in Counter-Strike. But somehow, from the highest of all highs, the major-winning Cloud9 roster quickly deteriorated. The fall. Nearly instantly after the Boston Major win, Cloud9's results declined dramatically. All of a sudden, the roster wasn't clicking, and the team in blue and white that joined the server after Boston just didn't seem the same.
26 kills total, that's it for Cloud9 after 17 rounds.
Ooh, they're saying GG, I'm not sure it was.
In an interview with Double Tap, Stewie2K said Skadoodle was demotivated and burnt out after the Boston win.
It was totally different situations. I don't think the offer really impacted replacing Skadoodle or him stepping down. I think at the time he was just really demotivated, and it kind of hurt us in-game a lot. And we knew he needed a break. We knew he achieved what he wants, and I think it was hard for him to tell us that he needed a break, and he didn't know where he would go if he said that, if he could ever get a spot back on the team.
And after more underwhelming results, including multiple one-sided beatdowns at the hands of much lesser teams, Stewie2K left Cloud9 and signed with SK Gaming, while Skadoodle temporarily stepped down from the starting roster. Canadian FNS took Stewie's place in April, but the poor performances continued, and by July, he was benched and released. Then Tarek, the Boston Major MVP, left to join Stewie on MIBR, and Skadoodle again removed himself from the five-man lineup. The key components of a roster that not so long ago were lifting a major trophy had gone, and Cloud9 were now a shadow of their former selves. Soon after, the roster was chopping and changing almost every month, and while the lineup itself was inconsistent during this time, the performances, unfortunately, were consistently bad.
Takes the fight on a rush, that's the bomb dropped, an automatic. He's spotted out in the open, Simple gonna finish things off, and that's 16-12 as Na'Vi close this series out 2-0, meaning that they send Cloud9 home.
Well, there we go. Vega Squadron completely dismantle Cloud9. My goodness, 16-4. Vega Squadron, yeah, sure, they're a bit of a dark horse in this tournament, at Majors especially, but Cloud9, not only should they be beating the team of that caliber, they definitely shouldn't be getting battered to that sort of extent. 16-4, they barely got going.
No tournament victories, very few quarterfinal appearances, and even fewer semifinals. Cloud9 tried everything to bring the organization back to its former glory, including a four-man roster overhaul in July of 2019. When that didn't work, a full roster change kicked off 2020, with C9 signing the up-and-coming roster of South African team ATK. But that gamble didn't pay off, and the ATK players were unable to fulfill their potential under the C9 banner. And at the same time, the COVID-19 pandemic was changing the very landscape of esports, Counter-Strike included. You see, in the beginning of COVID, with LAN events difficult if not impossible, Counter-Strike tournaments became regionalized. ESL One Cologne, for example, had 4 separate champions, one for Europe, NA, Asia, and Oceania. With the best teams from each region unable to compete against each other, it wasn't a situation fans, players, or anyone else was happy with. The solution was to eventually bring teams together to the same region but physically separated from each other. Players would be safe, and ping problems because of geographic distance would be reduced, and thus Counter-Strike as an esport essentially moved to Europe.
And what's happening right now in CSGO, everything is transitioning over to Europe.
And the North American dominoes began to fall. 100 Thieves stepped away from Counter-Strike entirely. Complexity lost their rising star Oboe, with the 17-year-old unable to continue being essentially stuck overseas indefinitely.
Already in North America, I mean, it was a less popular region for the game, and the top teams were spending a fair bit of time in Europe where the competition was thicker, and to lose orgs in NA meant that there was no whetstone for the teams that were on the rise in North America, and that is just a kind of a vicious cycle that means that we don't have teams that can build up to the point that they can become tough enough to play in Europe, and there's no one in North America to I guess, inspire play or also, give that practice to the teams in North America as well. So it just got worse and worse, basically.
So instead of bringing their current roster to Europe, Cloud9 announced a complete restructuring of their team with what they called the Colossus Project. The current roster continued to compete in NA for Cloud9, but in the meantime, the organization was assembling a European-based team. Longtime caster and former Source Pro Henry Greer was announced as general manager, and ex-100 Thieves coach Kassad was brought on board as well, as C9 embarked on what they hoped would be their return to the top of Counter-Strike.
My job, I know as a GM, is to build the CSGO wing of Cloud9 bigger and bigger back to what it was. That's my mission. I want to take us back to a top 10 team. I want to bring this back to the prestige we once had. And that has been lost. There's no two ways about it. It's been flushed away in terms of the lineups we put out there the last couple of years. It hasn't been good enough. It hasn't lived up to expectations.
They brought in former Vitality in-game leader Alex, the talented but sometimes inconsistent Woxic, Esatag, who was hot off a recent stint with Astralis, and rounded out the roster with Mezzy and Floppy. A roster with promise? Absolutely. A Colossus? Well, that divided opinion.
I guess that's the only thing that kind of comes to mind for me. Like, the team that they built is not a superstar team, and they need to invest even more to make that superstar team.
When revealing new player acquisitions, Cloud9 openly stated the value of the deal, something scarcely done in Counter-Strike and generally a move well received if not praised by the community at large. But the team's initial competitive results were less than colossal.
No chance there for Cloud9. I mean, it's so rough, isn't it? No maps being won.
And in less than 4 months, the first red flag was raised when Kassad left the organization after apparently unresolvable stylistic clashes with IGL Alex. Then, a few weeks later, Woxic was released due to issues with his ping and time zone while playing from his home country of Turkey. He was replaced with former Chaos Rifler Zeppa. But it was clear that rebuilding a roster in a foreign continent during a global pandemic posed unprecedented challenges. The team hadn't even met Zeppa or their new coach. And in what is the consistent theme of Cloud9's demise, results did not improve. The latest look for the Colossus, failing to make it out of the group stages at ESL Pro League Season 13, proved to be the final nail in the coffin.
2 versus 2, and that bomb's actually not even open for them. Naked hit the defuse, they know it. Someone's gonna kill AWP, and Phosphorate just catches it, and MIBR won't get ninja this time. 16-14, a 2-0 as Cloud9 fall to the last hurdle out of group stage and out of Pro League.
Just days later, the powers above pulled the plug on Cloud9's Colossus project, only 6 months into its life cycle. It was announced on March 26, 2021, that Cloud9 were bringing their Counter-Strike operations to an indefinite halt, citing complications of building a team during COVID. In a statement posted to Twitter, the org wished the players and Henry G the best of luck in the future, and that was that. The attempted revival of C9 ended up being the final act in their downfall.
I'm sorry for the players, I'm sorry for the org, I'm sorry for Henry G, who tried to take on something very ambitious and something that, you know, I really respected, and he just kind of got chewed up by it for some reasons that were definitely not his, you know, his own mistakes.
An organization that over the years has been home to some of NA's most adorned, talented, and iconic players. An organization whose colors and symbology are worn with pride by Counter-Strike fans around the world. Cloud9 gave us all unforgettable moments, and were the team to first prove North American CS could succeed at the highest level. And now, they're gone. If there is a light at the end of the tunnel for fans of the white and blue, it's that the organization said that when playing conditions return to normal, C9 wants to make a comeback, whenever that may be. So, although the door is firmly shut for Cloud9 now, it isn't locked for good.